was chatting to a single lady who I have known for a while, but not too much, just a little bit. And I often talk to single women. Somehow they may be drawn to me because I used to be them, and on an energetic level I think we know who can help us achieve what we want, and we kind of feel that attraction to talk to certain people. So oftentimes the single women who are in a similar situation in which I was the kind of single person who looked to be fine, but I absolutely hated it, and it was so painful for my heart because I was craving connection, I was craving a relationship so much that I just numbed myself out for that entire period. It was years of my life. I kept myself so busy because I couldn't bear the thoughts in my own head. I didn't have any of the tools I have today, and I just couldn't carry that weight on my shoulders anymore. And the only solution to keep myself sane was to just go, do. I was in masculine energy for years, just going and doing and having all the fun. And at the end of that period, something changed. I became much happier, or so I thought, happier than the previous version of myself anyway. And then I got into a place where I could attract my other half, who is now my husband. We've been in a happy relationship, working, functional, very deep, very good relationship for more than 13 years. So I was talking to this lady, and she said to me that there is a stand-up comedian who's a single woman, and she absolutely loves her. And she gave me a joke from the stand-up, and here's what she said. So she comes out on stage and she says, like, do you know those women who claim that their spouse is their best friend? Oh, bullshit. I don't believe them. I don't think that should be the case. Can you imagine going home the next day and telling him what an asshole you've been yesterday? No, I need girlfriends. We need together, and we need to talk shit about our spouses, and we need to get it off our chest, and you know what I mean? Deep breath. I'm listening to this and I completely understand deeply where this is coming from. I can envisage the kind of experiences that the woman on stage had, and the women with whom this message, this joke resonated deeply. I can absolutely understand and imagine the kind of experiences that they went through when it comes to romantic relationships. And I understand why this can be so popular. But it saddened me that someone who is the kind of single person that I used to be, who wants a spouse, who even wanted a family and everything, all the good and bad that comes with it, when you crave that, you crave it for a reason, in my opinion. And I also know single people who don't crave it and who are genuinely happy, but I know I wasn't one of those. And this lady doesn't seem to be one of those kind of single people either. It just saddens me that we think that this may be true, that I'm often worried that women stopped dreaming about the kind of relationship that they really want because they believe that the men, or it goes both ways, because we believe that the person that we want in our life doesn't even exist because we didn't see proof. We don't see our friends having it. We don't see our family having it. We certainly didn't see it in our parents. And we stop believing that it's even possible to find the person who we would love to be with. And that to me feels just sad because it's not true. Whoever you crave is out there. You just need to get into a state, into a vibration, a frequency, an emotional balance, from which point you can attract that person and the two of you come together and you make this beautiful oneness. But the oneness comes together from two wholes, and that's important to know. So some people, including myself, had to do a lot of work, inner work, and have to go through certain experiences to get to the point where I could claim that, okay, I am a whole, I'm fine, I'm good, and then I attracted another whole. And that's why our relationship is working and it's happy, and we continue to choose each other over and over and over again, because the happily ever after aspect is also not true. It's a relationship is worked on constantly with open communication, with you work on the relationship, on being together, focusing on each other, listening to each other, loving each other, communicating the problems, communicating the potential solutions to the problems as well. It's a lot of hard work inside the relationship to make it work over a long period of time, whilst you are actually feeling good about yourself and the other, and you're happy together. That takes serious work. And it's really helpful when two grown-ups come together to do this and you are together in it. And here's my take on it. I think the joke is not funny, because when two people come together and they share a deep relationship and they communicate with each other and they want to work on the relationship long term, you do become best. You do. You may have other best friends as well. For women, it could be like another girlfriend, or someone very close to you, someone from your childhood, someone who you just find this really harmonious relationship in life. But yes, your spouse is going to become your best friend. And I have been in a happy relationship for 13 years. My spouse is my best friend. My husband is my best friend. And I've spoken to women who have been in very successful, happy relationship for 20, 25 years. And they would say the same thing. They share everything with their husband, with their spouse. They have a very emotionally intimate relationship where they share from the depth of their soul what they feel, how they see the world, what is hurting them inside. They would cry. People in deep relationship would cry in front of each other. If you would never cry in front of your husband, then you don't have that connection. You would absolutely be emotional in front of your best friend. I think it's a good idea to think of your spouse that way as well, because the truth is that if you go together with your friends the next day and you talk shit about your spouse, that is not going to help anything. If you have problems, things that really bother you, the only person, oh gosh, listen to this please, the only person who can help you with that is your spouse. The two of you need to be talking to each other about whatever the problem is. You going to a third party, asking for advice, they giving you advice on their own life experience and their own opinion, is not going to help you in any way, shape, or form, okay? You need to be talking to each other. If you feel like you can't, then you need someone to facilitate that conversation. Counselor, therapist, couples therapist, couples counseling, they can facilitate the conversation between you. If you always end up fighting and screaming and you feel like we're really not getting anywhere with this, then you need a third person to facilitate the conversation to make it effective, so that he can hear what you are saying and you can hear what he is saying. Okay, so between man and woman, that kind of conversation has to be facilitated if you cannot have it. And there's something magical that happens when you talk. When you talk in a way that you listen, and listening means that when the other person is talking, you are not in your head thinking about what you're gonna say. You just put that aside, because there's enough time for you to think of what you want to say when the other person's finished. So you listen, you take it in, you think about it. You try to think about the other person's perspective in this situation, like any conflict resolution. But in relationship, this is deep because there's so much emotion involved. Harder when it's like a work conflict. That is a little bit easier, I think. But you just listen, you put yourself in the other person's shoe, and you really try to understand where they are coming from. And then it's perhaps your turn to, so you put the other person in your shoes, explain your perspective, explain your feelings, explain why something's just not okay for you. Okay, this is how a really grown-up, good working, loving relationship can work very long term to stay happy. Lots of communication. And you also need to work on the connection. And if you are not best friends, then this becomes so much harder. And I would ask you, obviously it's sometimes hard for people to envisage themselves in a long-term relationship if you've never had it. But the harsh truth that I'm going to share now, and probably everyone else in my shoes would agree to some degree, is that when you step into a relationship where you feel that this is it for a lifetime, if you're lucky enough to feel that way for reals, then that romantic relationship suddenly becomes a lot more important than any other relationship. And that's normal. And that's where your friends start complaining seriously about the time that you're spending with them. And you kind of go through that like churning of a few people from your life. And then when you have a family and you start to have 1, 2, 3 or more children, then all of your life perspective shifts into, wow, I've got these tiny humans, I need to raise them. So really, you will spend a lot of time at home with your spouse and with the kids. So can you see that not being best friends doesn't even make sense? Like, you will be with this person every day for the rest of your life. How could you ever do that if you're not sharing everything with them? Like, everything. And for me, the definition of a best friend is we share everything and we go through things and we are there for each other and we support each other. That's the definition in my view. How could you ever do, the children and the house and the work drama and the sleepless nights and everything else if you are not best friends? Now, I'm not saying that you don't need friends, because it's very hard to have a good conversation with my husband about the new makeup that I found and how amazing it feels on my skin and how gorgeous that mascara is because it stays on all day. It's hard to have those conversations because he doesn't care much. He still listens though. And he's like, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy. It looks really nice. I'm like, but do you see the difference? And then he kind of senses that he should. And then he's like, sure. I'm like, you don't see the difference. Why not really? And then we laugh. So, I'm not saying you don't need friends. Of course you do. We all do. And you will also have people in your life for specific aspects of it. Like, I have gardening friends with whom we talk about broad beans and garlic and tomatoes and strawberries, and we really enjoy it. Like gardening, allotment friends. And then I have work friends where we talk about work and all aspects of it. I have spiritual friends with whom I can talk all things crystals, meditation, all of those things. And it's very nice. But the one person that I share everything with is my husband. And a very important aspect of this is that, generally speaking, I never share the things that belong to us with a third party. If we have a conflict, no one will know. No one will know but us, the two of us, because it's nobody's business. Because of this, it may seem to the outer world of, our friends or family that we're just always like smooth. It's like this. It's not like this. It's never like this. But we work on it constantly. And genuinely, I do not believe that your relationship, when it's between two whole grown-up people and you feel that this is it, it's nobody's business what's going on inside that relationship. You don't need to go to a girlfriend to talk shit about your spouse, to get it off your chest, because it's not going to help it. And you must be able to see this. You must understand that if you're single right now, you're listening to this, and if you find the one, it's fine. Honestly, if they become your best friend and if they become a little bit of everything in your life. Because the truth is that if your dream comes true, he is going to be everything. He's going to be everywhere. You are going to share everything. You're going to go through things together, through everything together. You are going to feel his experience of life, and he's going to be feeling your experience of life. Or she, I'm not getting the genders right here, but please, I know you get it. You're going through life together. You're experiencing it all together. You are coming together into a very special oneness. Holding thoughts like, I need this group of friends because this is the most important thing in my life, is actually holding you back from attracting this person, because there's no space energetic. If your house is completely full, there's not a drawer that could hold someone else's underwear in it, you're energetically almost repelling the other person from your life because there's no energetic space for them to come in. If your diary is always full, you never have a free evening because it's all booked up with friends and events and all the having fun, you're keeping yourself busy, then you are not in balance and there's no energetic space for a date night to come into. So just pay a little bit of attention onto what you wish for. Because if you're laughing at jokes of like, oh sure, I need my girlfriends to, talk shit about my spouse, then what kind of spouse are you attracting? The one that you actually want, or the one that you can talk shit about in the pub the next day? Because both are available on the market. Those kinds of people, they are both available. One is easier to find and one is harder to find, but which one do you want? And be honest with yourself. Just be very radically honest with yourself. Not with your friends just yet, but at least with yourself. Like, do you crave, because I know I did, do you crave the kind of relationship where you can just sink into it and become one and never have to worry about being alone anymore? And you know this when you have the thought and the feeling. In relationships that don't feel like this, I always had the thought of like, oh, I think it's time to break up. Or I would still keep looking. I would go to places, I would keep looking. Is there someone a little bit better? Just let me check. When you're looking, when you're thinking about like, oh, maybe it's time for a breakup, clearly it's not the one. When you find it, you no longer look. You're like, this is the best. This is the one. This is the best. It's better than what I ever imagined. It feels right in every way. I'm done. I found the one. So that's on one hand. But on the other hand, you never think about breaking up because it shatters you into pieces. It breaks your soul in an unrecoverable way. Even the thought of separation, it shatters you into pieces. So you don't think of it. You think of like, how can I communicate this so that we can resolve this? How can I work on myself to get through this very hard stage? What can we do together to get the spark back into our relationship after, having a baby? How can we resolve a conflict? Maybe it's family drama. Like, how can I see his perspective on this issue with his family or my family in a way that it would help us to get on the same page and understand where the other one is coming from? Because once you understand, the conflict is resolved because you have empathy and compassion. So oftentimes it's just explaining your feelings and your perspective to the other and you're done. They're like, oh, I didn't know. It's just conversation. Lots of it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know all of your life experience, opinions in the comments. I'm genuinely curious of what you think, even if you think differently than me. I'm curious to hear your perspective, your opinion, and your life experience. Thank you, and I will see you on the next video.